Hey there, how are y'all doing? Just let me move this here like this. Well, thanks for tuning in or watching this from the archive. This is birthed from I called it a pop-up live, an inspired action for those of you in our manifesting courses that from last week, I think it was. And the title of it was How We Have Decision Making All Backwards. And tons of views, tons of comments, and some really good questions. And I thought, well, maybe what I'll do is I'll just go into a little bit more in depth and from a mechanical perspective, right? And I was thinking about this, and we could talk about this process forever. We could have day-long events. We could have weekend events. And we actually might do that the more I think about it. But what I thought was, okay, so what can I give you guys today that you can sort of take it and hit the ground running? So it will be a foundational process that, yes, we could extrapolate in all sorts of cool directions, but it's a foundational process that you can start to use today. Okay. And so some of the things I'm going to talk about, I'll explain in some detail. I'll probably not go into them in a lot of detail because, again, we'll be here for days. So what I want to do is just give enough understanding so you know the whys, right? So I always like to say, so you know the landscape of this terrain that we're navigating in. So I call it vibrational decision making, kind of fancy name for it. Or creative decisions is another label I will often use. So you have an understanding of the landscape. And then when you take the process and you apply it in the ways that work for you, you're applying it from a place of understanding, not memorization. And for me, that makes all the difference in the world. So many things in this genre especially are based on memorization. Do this, do this, do this, do this. But they don't say, oh, hold on a sec. I'm just going to switch up this to there. But they don't say why. Right. They don't say why to do these things. And that's, for me, is so important, is to have some understanding of why I'm supposed to do this and how I can measure my effectiveness at doing this. Because what good is a process or a pathway if you're not able to measure how you're doing? Right? If I'm getting closer, if I'm doing it right, or if I'm doing it wrong, all that kind of stuff, right? So, and my control panel is right over there. That's why I glance that direction every once in a while. So you can leave comments. I appreciate your comments. Share. We're all in this together. That's how we get the message out, right? You have access to people that I don't. And the messages that we share don't come from us. They come through us. And there's a lot of value in that. I mean, we really appreciate that. Also, any questions or comments, feel free to enter them into the comments. I'll kind of keep an eye on them over here, depending on where you're viewing this feed from, or if you're viewing it from an archive, still leave the comments. It's just I won't obviously be able to respond to them in a real-time fashion, but please do. So if I miss you during the live session, I keep an eye, and I would love to respond to them. So let's keep the conversation going, right? This is really, really powerful. This is being a creative decision maker is such a powerful skill, and it's one that not only we haven't been taught, we've been taught I don't want to say the worst way. We've been taught how to do it backwards, which just doesn't work at all. Of course, all you guys know, and again, depending on where you're viewing this from, if you want to find out everything there is to know about me, Russ Leteau, founder of the Healing Center, Ask the Wizard Coaching, all that kind of stuff, just go here. Right there. That I just brought it up a few minutes ago, right? Go to healing. Did I spell it right? Oh, good for me. Go to healingcenter.ca and you can find the archives to these shows and different offerings that we have, different resources, all that kind of stuff. Okay, so without further ado, let us, and if you guys have watched any of our lives broadcasts from some time ago, I haven't used Mr. Flip Chart in a little while. So for those of you that have watched it, you'll be very familiar with Mr. Flip Chart. This is Mr. Flip Chart right here. And there's Mr. Flip Chart. Okay. So, and again, any of you that have followed us for any length of time know that we use a learning system that we call geometrics, which is a whole series of charts, graphs, maps, if you will, to help us explain and to help you understand in a very simplified yet a powerful fashion the concepts that we're talking about. Okay, so without further ado, what I want to do is provide the landscape that we're going to talk about today. So I'm just going to bring Mr. Flip Chart up to full screen here, and I'm actually going to lose this just so we have as much screen as possible. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to draw a bit of a map, like so, and like so. So this is a map of your life experience. I can't spell, but you guys know that. Right? So this is a map of your life experience. So the entirety of your life experience, all right? So the entirety of your life experience can be understood in these two circles. Okay? So this circle I call the physical. So where does that relate in your life experience right now? When I say physical, well, that's the world of your five senses, right? That's the world that you see, touch, taste, feel, all that kind of stuff, right? Then we have what I call the non-physical. Okay, so what's the non-physical? Well, the non-physical is your thoughts, right? When you think about something, right? Where are you doing that? Well, you're doing that in the non-physical. Now, why do I mean non-physical? Because you can't take a thought and weigh it on a scale. But just because you can't weigh the thought, it doesn't mean it's not real or not relevant. That for me is so important. So when you're remembering a memory, where is that process taking place? It's taking place right here. When you make a decision, where does that process take place? It takes place right here. And I'm just going to go back to full screen. It's just better for you guys. It takes place right here. That's why it's so important to understand. So when I make, like this decision making and all that kind of stuff. So mechanically, where does that fit in the whole scheme of things? Okay, so we have our physical world of our five senses. We have our non-physical world, right? Our thoughts, visualizations, the stories we tell about the physical world, right, happen here. And then there is, and I use a different colors specifically and purposefully, then there's our I am. Okay, so who or what is our I am? Well, your our I am, whoa, your I am, my I am, wow, say that fast 3 times, is your soul, your spirit, your higher self, the you that's listening to this, actually. Right? And see, and this, what's really neat is you'll often hear it referred to as body, mind, spirit, right? Or body, mind, soul, or again, pick your label. But the you that's you is participating and interacting with your physical world and your non-physical world, but you're not either of those. They're an experience that you're interacting with, but they're not who you are. And again, we could talk about that, but forever. But for now, and some of these things, probably just going to have to use a little bit of taking it on faith. Okay, so the non-physical and the physical is this wonderful car that you drive around in. You say it's my car, and you put gas in my car, and my car sometimes gets dents in it, and I like the way my car looks, but you know that you're not your car. Right? So there's these 3 unique aspects of who you are. Your physical, your non-physical, and then your soul or your spirit. Okay, so I am just going to do this here, and let's get rid of, I'm just going to clear a little bit of this up just so it's a bit easier for you guys. People ask what this actual my flip chart is. It's actually a tablet computer. And it's a tablet computer that I have got a piece of software that turns it into basically a big webcam, and then I just tie it into the broadcast. So that's what it is. Okay, so let's just label these. This is physical. Whoops. This is physical. This is not. Yeah, I know there's something here. I'll get to that. Okay, so there's our physical, non-physical world, and then there's us, our I am, soul, spirit. Okay, now there's a component in this that's really important to understand, and it's something that I call the creative flow. Again, this is something that I'm going to have to take just a little bit of faith here, okay? Because again, it's another whole event to explain exactly what that looks like. But for now, there's this thing, but I'll give you examples of how you'll see it in play. There's this process, there's this flow called the creative flow, and it goes this way. All right. So what it does is it gives form here to what is here. So if you wanted to think of it as one way, you could say it's the process that gives a physical representation of your non-physical environment. And all sorts of different cultures, different denominations, if you will, have different names for this, right? We're going to call it creative flow, okay? It gives form to this. And so these components are present all the time. One way you could think of the creative flow is, well, gravity, right? So gravity is applying everywhere all the time. So if I took this pen, it's not a pen, but it looks like a pen, and I let go, the law, if you will, of gravity is going to apply itself, and it's going to fall, right? But what's really interesting now is the law of gravity is still applying to this pen, isn't it? It's just I'm currently overriding it. Important thing here. The law of gravity is still trying to drop this pen down, but I am overriding it. But you guys know, this is the really good news. You guys know that if I hold this pen for a second, a minute, a week, a month, whatever, sooner or later, or whenever I choose to let go, law of gravity, poof, down it goes. The other thing to remember about the law of gravity is it's scalable, right? So if it was this pen, if it was this computer, I don't plan on dropping it. If I went up to the roof of the house next door and I jumped off, the law of gravity is always applying. So it's scalable. So as far as the law of gravity is concerned, there's no bigger, there's no small, right? So what do I mean by that? And why is this relevant? Because this is very similar to that. The creative flow is always applying or influencing or doing what it's supposed to do. And that's give form to the inform or the non-physical, right? Physical form to the non-physical. It's always here. It's always applying itself. It does not know scale. Okay. So as we relate to decision making, there are no big decisions or small decisions. There are no difficult decisions. There are no easy decisions because the creative flow is just a creative flow. And if we go, as we're going to learn how to interact with this, if we go, well, boy, this is a big decision, it's going to be harder, or this is a simple decision, it's going to be easier, the creative flow has no idea what we're talking about. Because the creative flow is a creative flow. Takes a non-physical, gives it form in the physical. Doesn't matter what it is. At any point in time, we can override that, just like we can temporarily override the law of gravity. Now, why does this matter? Here's one of the areas that the creative flow is different than, let's say, the law of gravity. The creative flow is sentient. And what I mean by that is it's almost like a living entity, if you will. And it has certain characteristics that it naturally applies or influences everything in our world. Now, here's the other piece of really good news. The creative flow. Let's just do this. The creative flow. Whoops, I don't want that. I want this. So it gives form. So it gives physical form, right, to the non-physical. We talked about that, right? The other thing it does is its very nature is that everything gets better and better. Here's a really cool thing about this. This creative flow. Oh, yeah. Where am I at here? This creative flow, its very nature is one of consistent, continual, evolving, expanding, better and better and better. So if we did nothing other than nurture our relationship with this creative flow, if that's all you did, this would naturally get better and better and expand and expand and evolve and evolve. If you did nothing else than nurture a relationship here. And in so many ways, what I find as we grow, mature, if you will, in our spirituality, we become less and less concerned with this and drawn more and more and more into this. We have so as I'm sure you guys know, one of our primary focuses is the Reiki certification classes. We have a master's class coming up in Edmonton this weekend. And that's one of the things we'll talk about. In that as we step and we walk into our walk as a master, we become less and less concerned with this and more in love with that. And the really wonderful, ironic thing about it is the more we do this, the better this gets. And in so many ways, as my creative decision-making has evolved, if you will, the decisions that I make have less and less to do with this and more to do with just this. And that often makes no sense to people because we have been taught, remember the video that this comes from is how we have decision making backwards. We have been taught to make our decisions this way. So here's what I mean by that. We observe something in the physical that we don't like, right? And then we make a decision here, right? But what we're doing is we're giving the power to this. Because what we're trying to do is we're trying to make the decision happen using just this. So we notice something here we don't like. We want to change it. So what do? And where does the desire? Where is the intention? Where is the desire birthed? The desire is birthed here. Where is it conceived? It's conceived here, right? So what we do is we notice something here and we go, I want it to be different. Where do we make that decision? We make it here, right? But then we stay here. And we say, I'm going to make this decision happen here. I'm going to make it happen. What does that look like? Well, geez, I need to change stuff here. I don't like this, or I want to do this instead of this. And how am I going to do that? I need to figure out how to do. And then what we do, here's what we do, right? We go, I need to change this. And then what we do is we go back to here for resources. We go, and I'm not saying there's anything wrong with this in balance. We go, well, I need to do a study and I need to do a pros and cons list. And I hear how many times I say I need, and I need to save up enough money, and I need to get healthy enough, and I need to do this, I need to do this, I need to do this, I need to do this. I need. And we're working this and we're working this. The example I've been using with my coaching folks lately, and our home base is the city at Red Deer, Alberta, Canada, and then the city we fly out of is Calgary, which is 80 miles away. And I say, you've decided that you want to go to Calgary. Okay, that's good. And you can take a car there or you can walk there. And when we try and make the decision process happen using just this, we're heading to Calgary, but we're walking there. Now, I don't know about you, but walking 80 miles is a long way to walk, right? And the chances of me getting tired, the chances of it taking a long time, the chances of me just frankly quitting are pretty darn good. Or if we switch the whole process around and start to make the decision making this way, we are now connecting with this creative flow. And that's us getting a chauffeur driven limousine that drives us to Calgary. This is why when I said we have decision making all backwards, what I meant. So many of us are trying to do it just here, using our own intellect, our own resources, and trying to walk to Calgary, instead of starting to do it this way, connecting with this flow, which gets in the chauffeur-driven limousine, and then it drives you to Calgary, and you're there in an hour and a half instead of, I don't know, however long it takes to walk 80 miles, right? It's going to take me a long time to walk 80 miles, right? So the first thing to remember is, in what I'm calling vibrational decision making, is the flow. Okay, and then we're going to get into the steps. The flow goes this way. Okay, yes, we observe something here, and yes, we form an intention or a desire here. So that's the same, but the process of introducing the change is this way, and it's done by using this process, by hooking on to this natural flow that is always giving form to the inform and is always causing things to get better and better and better. To me, it just makes a heck of a lot more sense. Okay, so that's the first thing, right? So here's the process. Whoops, here's what we know so far, all right? So we notice who's a we, right? This. You, the you that's listening to this. So you notice something here that you would rather be different. We call it contrast. So any of you guys have been in our class, we notice contrast here. Contrast is, I see this, I want this, right? That's contrast. So where do we make that decision, or do we become aware of that desire, or we set an intention to have it be different? We do that here, right? So step one, we notice the contrast. Step two, we define, or we become aware of the desire, which is, I don't want this, I want this, right? Then step three, and that's what we're going to step into, we connect to the creative flow. Because once we've done step two, if we connect to the creative flow, what do you think the creative flow is going to do? It's going to bring this into form. But it's the one that's bringing that desire into your physical world, not you. You've set the direction. You've said, I want to go to Calgary, but you're not trying to walk there. You've connected with this flow. Okay, does that make sense? So 1, 2, 3. Right? That's the steps. So we'll just do this. So what does that look like? And this is one of the questions that was asked from Sarla on the live. Was something to the effect of, and it's a very common one, is I have this decision, I have this action that I want to take, something that I want to do to change something, but I'm concerned, I think she said, worried about the outcome, right? And this is usually, well, I'd like to do this, but if I try to introduce change, what if this doesn't work? Or what if this happens? Or that type of thing, right? So we have this desire, but it's like there's this resistance. It just, you've all had those times, days, moments where everything just seems to click, right? It just seems to click. Why is that happening? Because you've accidentally slipped into the creative flow. You see, when you ride the creative flow, things just click, 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 right? So you've accidentally kind of slipped into that creative flow. And actually, I'm already like half an hour into it, but hopefully my audio and everything is coming through. I haven't done a check on that, but If it's not, or if anything's haywire, just leave a comment because I'll see it. I think we're okay. So we've had those experiences where things just seem to flow. And you make this decision and it just bang and it happens. You go, wow, that was really cool. I wish I could do that all the time. Well, what has happened is you've managed to connect to this creative flow, usually without even realizing you're doing it. The creative flow, just give it form, right? Just give it form. And then there's those other times, which is where I think many of the questions come from, is it's like if I feel this, but I don't know. It's like there's this resistance to getting stuff done, making stuff happen, making this decision, right? And usually the reason that happens, or you're in that spot, is because the term I use, you haven't done your pre-work. All right. So the pre-work to me is where, for myself and Mary Jo, is where, I don't know, 90% of the work happens, is in the pre-work. And 10% is the action. So where does the pre-work take place? The pre-work takes place here. And I'm just picking numbers here, but 90% is done here, and 10% is done here. For most people, those ratios are exactly reversed, right? The 90% is here, and this is usually doesn't even exist, right? They try and physically make things happen. But until you've done the pre-work, it's going to be very challenging and incredibly low efficient. And you probably won't be able to see the fullness of the changes that you want to see, right? The outcome of your decisions is because you haven't done the pre-work, which is 90. And these numbers are really accurate for me. 90% of the work is done here. Okay, now we're hitting something here. This is huge. This is huge. Yeah. The number one, I think it is. Yeah, the number one reason that the decision-making process for you is so difficult at times, and when you try and make those decisions happen, they don't happen, or there's results that you didn't want to see, which is where the worry comes in, right? What if I try and do this and it doesn't work out, or this happens, right? The reason that you find yourself in that spot is because you're focusing your energy here instead of here. I tell you, I've seen this happen over and over and over. I've lost the list is I couldn't even guess how long. That as we do this here is it's almost a non-event. All we're really doing when we do the pre-work, and as we do the pre-work, this 10%, you almost fall into it. What I've said with many of the folks that I work with is, as you do this pre-work, the outcome is pretty much inevitable. It's like you can't screw it up. Right? Once you've done this pre-work, which connects you to this flow, you build such amazing, momentum. I might even be spelled right. You build such amazing momentum that the outcome is guaranteed, because the momentum is so strong that once it's going, you couldn't stop it using physical action if you wanted to. Okay? So the focus is on this. And the measuring tool we use, see, for most of the normals, the measuring tool they use as to how they're doing is it here yet? right? Are we made a change? We got to look at the charts. We got to look at the graphs. We got to look at the weight, the scale. We have to look at our cash projections. We have to look at whatever, right? But you see, when you work with vibrational decision making, yes, you have an indicator. You bet you do, but it's not here. It's in the one spot we haven't talked about yet. And that's right here. And what is right here? What is your indicator of how well I'm doing in my pre-work? Well, your indicator is right there. It's in your physical body. Okay. So now I'm going to step into that because this is huge. Because if I'm in the car and I'm going to Calgary, now thankfully Creative Flow knows how to get me there. But what happens if the car slows down and I jump out and I'm going the wrong direction or whatever, right? How do I know, right? It's kind of like our GPS. How do I know that I'm heading in the right direction, doing the right thing? So your indicator of how you measure, how am I doing with my pre-work, is in your body, or what we call emotions, right? So what is an emotion? For our purposes here, an emotion is a bodily sensation. So when you're feeling an emotion, where are you feeling it? Feeling it in your body, aren't you? Right? And all emotions, so any of our people that have come to our classes will have seen this explained in differing ways, right? All emotions fit on a scale. So let's throw labels out. Okay. Let's look at emotions and let's say, okay, how do we measure what are emotions? So all emotions fit on a scale. And in this direction, we feel tension. This direction, we feel, that's supposed to be an R, relaxation, right? This direction, the sensations feel good. This one, using just labels, the sensations feel bad. So every emotion is somewhere along this sliding scale. When we say it's a positive emotion, a good emotion, what are we saying? We're saying it's somewhere over here. When we're saying it's a bad emotion, a negative emotion, what are we saying? It's somewhere over here. So your indicator of how well you're doing, how you're progressing in your pre-work is how is your body feeling? Okay? So let's go back to here now. So how is your body feeling? If your body is feeling good or degrees of, right? We don't have to feel like, wind beneath my wings. But if your body is feeling good, that means that your desire here, your intention here that you chose is aligning with the creative flow. So just for another word, I know I'm making a bit of a mess of this, but that's okay. This process, I'll try this, is what I call alignment. So what's happening is you've identified the desire, and now your work is coming into alignment or bringing that desire into alignment to that creative flow. You're getting in the car, right? If you could get in the car with this desire, whoosh, away it goes, right? And then you're not doing the work. The creative flow is doing that work of giving form to your desire. You're just kind of riding it. And then the physical steps, this last 10%, it'll just kind of lay itself out for you. Like I said, you really just kind of fall into it, right? The way through will present itself, but only as you do this. I tell you, this is the reason and this isn't just my experience, this is also all the people that I've studied, right? They have different ways of articulating it, but they're saying the same thing. This is the reason. You haven't done your pre-work. You haven't aligned yourself and your desire with what I'm calling the creative flow, which will then carry it through. Okay, so for our purposes here now, I'm going to give you, so we got our first step, right? We know that something in the physical births that desire, that intention for something to be different, right? Third step is we need to bring that desire and us and the creative flow all into alignment. How do we measure how we're doing with that? The better you feel, the more everything's flowing into alignment. The worse you feel, the more it's not. Okay, so this is really, really simple. But a lot of times I find we equate value to complexity. So we say the more complex the process is, the more valuable it must be. And it's been my experience that it's the exact opposite. The simpler the understanding, the simpler the truth, the simpler the process, the more powerful it is. So this is going to sound too easy or maybe too simple. But simple doesn't mean easy. And the power is in the simplicity. So here's your to-dos. And again, we could, like I said, talk about this forever, but I wanted to give you some understanding, the process, and some action steps you can take today, right? So your number one thing, I want to feel good, right? Whatever you can do. So you made the decision. See, and here's what happens is we go, I need to do this. I got this decision. I need to make this decision. Pay attention to what your body is telling you. As you think about that, I need to do this. I need to change this. I need to do this. How am I going to do this? What's your body telling you? I bet money that in that moment, your body is feeling tension. If you paid attention, if you said, what is my body feeling right now? Forget about labeling the emotions, right? What is my body feeling right now? If your body is feeling tension, right? If your body is feeling tension, guess what? You're not in alignment. Period. If your body is feeling tension, you're not in alignment. If you're not in alignment, you're trying to get to Calgary by walking. It's 90 here and almost nothing here. And people go, okay, this is, you can forget about everything you just saw up to now. Just remember this. So people go, but I want to feel good, and I will feel good once I get this decision. See, that's why I'm worried about it. See, I'm worried because, well, I want to feel good, but I want to make this decision. I got to make this decision happen. What if it doesn't happen? Or what if this happens? Or I don't know if I'm doing it right or if I'm doing it right. What's that your indicator? The indicator is your body feels tension. You do not feel good right now. You go, but I want to feel good. Yeah, I know, but you're not feeling good right now. But I will feel good as soon as this is done. You're using your own strength. See, I tell you, if you're at a spot where you don't feel good and you go, once I do this, then I will feel good, you're using your own power. You're trying to walk to Calgary. Short story is you're probably not going to get there. And this is everything. And I am coming close to closing, but this is everything. We have been taught that I need to feel bad before I feel good. And that's why you worry. And that's why there's a resistance. And that's why you feel like stalemated. And that's why change seems so difficult. Because we've been sold this bill of goods that we have to feel bad to feel good. And the thing of it is the more bad, tension, negative emotion, pick your label, you feel, that's an indicator that you're out of alignment with the creative flow. It's really just that simple. Simple doesn't mean easy, right? When you're making vibrational decision making, when you're instituting those creative changes, it's the exact opposite. I want to feel good. When I feel good, I am now coming into alignment. Right? So let's go back to here. Want to feel good. Why? Because when I feel good, I'm in alignment. What are you in alignment with? Creative flow, right? When I feel bad, I'm not, right? Remember, good and bad is this, right? All emotions somewhere along here, right? That's all they're doing. They're giving you an indicator of whether I'm in alignment or whether I'm not in alignment at any point in time. So your job is to do whatever you can do. You see, that's the thing. Once this step two, right? You've formed the desire, you've formed the intention. It's there, right? And the creative flow is actually acting on it because that's what it does, right? But when we're not in alignment with the creative flow, that's when we introduce the resistance. That's when we introduce that contradictory energy flows. And that's what creates this. So now we can take another look at emotions in another way. So a negative emotion, a bad emotion, pick your label. All that's telling you, in a way, it's kind of a good sign in a crazy way, is that the creative flow is working on that intention, is working on making the way through, is working on creating those and offering those inspired thoughts, which then manifest through the action. But you're not in alignment with the flow. What do you feel when you're not in alignment with the flow? Yeah. So here's what happens. We go, here's what happens. Okay, I'm going to wrap up with this. This is all you need to know. There is a flow that creates universes. And it gives form to everything in your experience, physical form to everything. It's always here. It's always impressing itself. It's always impressing and influencing and attempting to create better and better and better experiences for you. When you feel good, you are in alignment with that flow. And if you never had another intention or desire or never had a need or desire to make even a decision about anything, your life experience would get better and better and better. Wonderful example of that. Michael Singer, oh boy, Surrender Experiment. It's an amazing book. And it's about this individual. That's all he did. His desire was to just nurture his connection with, using my words now, that creative flow. And his life just manifested and evolved in the most amazing way. That's always here. That's always present. And what its greatest desire, remember it's thinking, what its greatest desire is for you to experience an ever evolving, increasing experience of life. It only wants to do one thing, and that's grow, expand, and evolve. That's it. Better and better and better and better and better. The beauty is we get to introduce our preferences for how we would like this experience to expand. That's what a desire is. Desire is a preference. That's it. I'm experiencing this. I'd rather have this. That's it. And if that's all we did, we would be good to go. Because we would notice a contrast. We would create a desire or a preference. The creative flow would just take that and manifest it in the most interesting way possible and fun way possible. But we don't stop there. We go, I notice contrast. It's birth the desire. Now, how do I make it happen? All the discordance that you are feeling comes from you trying to make something happen. And the reason you're feeling that discordance is because you're not in alignment with the creative flow. That's it. What is it? These amazingly valuable indicators that you're not? They're your emotions for our purposes here. You don't feel good. You feel tension. Where in your body? So what's the pre-work that we do? And I realize I'm asking you to take some pretty big steps in faith here, but what I'm also asking you to do is just try it. And it's going to go against this. Trust me, it's going to go against this. But just try it. Just try it. Right? See, your desire is not for things to change out here. Your desire is to feel good. Why? Because when you're feeling good, you're in alignment with the creative flow. And that's what changes everything out here. Stop trying to do it on your own. Align those desires with the creative flow and let it do all the heavy lifting. How do we know when we're in, when we're out? I feel good. I'm in the creative flow. I feel bad. I'm not. That's okay. And you're not. Do something to feel good. The question that's often asked is, should I meditate on this? And again, meditation is a term we could talk about forever. For me, meditation is fine, but understand why you're doing it. So you're not meditating on trying to resolve the decision. You're not meditating on trying to find out what the way through is. You're not meditating to try and make the change happen. You're meditating to come into alignment with the creative flow. So if you want to meditate, perfect. But the reason that you meditate is to come into alignment with the creative flow. How do you know that's happening? You feel good. So the reason you meditate is to feel good. Stop. The reason you meditate is to feel good. Stop. I want to meditate to feel good so that the way I'll present itself. No. The chauffeur-driven limousine is getting you from Red Deer to Calgary. It knows the way. It knows the best way. It's got everything taken care of. Just get your butt in the car, right? But we seem to insist on backseat driving, right? Your desires are naturally created. Your preferences are naturally created and creative. Then your job is to do whatever you can do to feel good, or at least a little less bad. Remember, it's that sliding scale, right? So for us, and I realize, I don't want to say oversimplified, but just trust us on this. And believe me, it's a skill, right? So in the beginning, going to go, feel good. No, I'm trying to figure it out myself. No, I'm not, right? That's okay. It's a skill, right? You're designed to feel good. You deserve to feel good now, right? Now. Not when things change, not as things change, not so that things change. You're designed to feel good, period. What's one thing you can think of to do today? Often, this is going to have nothing to do with this decision you're trying to make. Right? Because it doesn't matter what you do to feel good. It doesn't matter how you get into the creative flow, just get into the creative flow. And so often when we go, I've got this decision I have to make, but I'm concerned about the outcome, or I don't know how it's going to happen, or all this kind of stuff. So I'm going to feel good when I'm thinking about this. It's probably not going to happen because you've been feeling bad about this for so long, right? So find something else. So this is the thing. This person goes, okay, I need to feel good about this decision. And no. You need to feel good. Stop. Because then you're in the creative flow. And often, one of the things you don't want to do is I want to feel good while I'm in the midst of trying to figure this thing out, because you're probably not going to be able to. Find something else, something totally different. Remember, what was it? The Secret. I'm sure it was the first sort of docudrama that was out years ago. Neil Donald Walsh. I remember this so clearly. He says, If it feels good to take a walk in the park, take a walk in the park. If it feels good to have a bologna sandwich, well, then have a bologna sandwich, right? If it feels good to walk outside, then walk outside. If it feels good to have a cup of coffee, then have a cup of coffee, right? But we're so conditioned that I'm not allowed to feel good until I'm done feeling bad, which is essentially what it is. I will feel good once I've fixed this, once I've done this, once I've made this decision, once I've done all this kind of stuff, which enhances the feeling badness, which keeps you out of the flow, which is going to perpetuate more of the feeling badness. So your takeaway from this is today, find something, anything, that will cause you to feel good or a little less worse. Remember that sliding scale, right? Because if you can start to see you, your I am, as Source does, Source, God, Universe, pick your label, you can't help but feel good. And that creative flow is always drawing you in. See, it's drawing in. It's like gravity, right? So my pen here, right? It's gravity. It's always, impressing itself. I'm just holding on to this. But as soon as I let go, it'll start to take me in. So if you just start to feel good a little bit, just a little bit, then a creative flow will start to draw you in, start to draw you in. And then you feel bad, okay, but I got to do something to feel good. You feel good a little bit, and it'll draw you in. And pretty soon that momentum will start to build. And then the creative flow will start to carry you through. And then the path will present itself to you that you do the last steps, which is taking the physical steps. But because you've done the pre-work, the physical steps, well, they might be interesting. They aren't going to be near as difficult as you originally thought they were because you're trying to do it under your own steam. That's how we live. It's just that simple. That's how we live. We notice something here, births a desire, we identify it, if you will, and then do our very best to just feel good. Because the thing is to get in that line with that creative flow, and then everything starts to move. I want to feel good. I deserve to feel good. It feels good to feel good. That's vibrational decision making. Vibration. Good. Beach Boys. Good vibrations, right? It's just that simple. It's not that easy. I understand this. It's just that simple. Thanks for sticking with me for the hour. If you watch this live or if you're watching it through the archives, appreciate it so much. I know I kept you here. Yeah, well, pretty much an hour. It was an hour well spent, I believe. I will probably do a few Got a minutes with just a few of the points from this as well. I'll see if I can maybe edit out some chunks of this because not everybody has an hour to spend to watch this as well. Comments, questions, suggestions. I so appreciate them. Let's keep the conversation going. We're all in this together, right? And we can do it. We really, really can. Thanks for tuning in. This is Russ with I need more coffee. Russ with Got a Minute video. This has been a Facebook Live workshop. As you know, I've got the website there. You can always check out everything that we do. You can connect with me on different social media and different things like this. All right, guys, it's been a great time. See you on the web.